Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Rich Woman Rising podcast. I I'm Eloise Tomkins and I'm a money coach and psychologist. And I was laughing because if you listen to last week's episode, oh my goodness, I feel like I sounded like a chipmunk and I don't know what happened to the audio, but here we are. So I'm crossing my fingers that today I do not sound like a chipmunk and the podcast goes smoothly. But I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Touch wood. All of those superstitious things that are going to do absolutely jack for how the audio turns out. But I'm going to say it anyway because it's fun. Welcome back to another episode. I want to share some things with you because I don't know, like, I feel like I have stepped into this version of myself recently. And I guess I'm sharing this with you because I feel like things are about to get a little bit spicier around here. Um, I've always known that I've been holding myself back on the podcast, on socials, on my email list, just in general, right? And I always told myself, oh, I'm holding myself back because um, I'm a psychologist. I need to present in a particular way. If I don't present in a particular way, then, all of the worst things will happen. I'll lose my registration. Which actually has no bearing on the work that I do in the money coaching space anyway. So it doesn't, like, it logically doesn't make sense, which I know is what happens for you too, right? Like, we can logically know that things aren't going to happen, yet we still worry about it. And oh my gosh, that's the exact work that I do, right? Because logically, we know that money will flow. Logically, we know that we're going to be okay. Logically, we know that we can make money. Logically, we know that we're deserving of it. Logically, we get this shit. We get it, but we don't believe it deep in our soul. And even though I do this work and I help my clients with this work, the thing about this work is that we're all human and we all share the same experiences, and no one is immune, including those amazing coaches that we put up on pedestals and say, oh my goodness, you're amazing, or just people in general. Oh my goodness, you're amazing. No, they're all human. They're all human. The people that have money who walk around and think they're better than everyone else, I actually think I have different opinions on that. I actually think that they are um, not as confident as they present to the world. So again, having money doesn't necessarily equate confidence. And which, having worked with a lot of people who had no money, people who had oodles of money. Self-confidence and self-worth doesn't matter how much money is in your bank account. It really doesn't care. We all have our own different thresholds. Anyway, I'm pausing because I'm like, oh my goodness, I could go down a rabbit hole on that, but I'm going to bring myself back or try to at least. Because what I am ultimately trying to share is that I feel like I've stepped into this next level where I'm like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. It's not that I don't give a fuck. It's not like I'm out there going, I don't give a fuck and I'm gonna blow up the world and cause chaos with my message. It's more, I've stepped into, you know what? I'm gonna speak my truth. And it's not gonna be for everyone. And it's gonna be for the right people. And it's gonna be right for me. And I think, and you're going to see that shift in the podcast. Well, I'm hoping that you will see this shift in the podcast, because I want to speak my truth. I want to share not only my knowledge around psychology, but I also want to share me, and have you get to know me and who I am as a person. Um, but I've always worried that I've been unhinged or will come across as unhinged or negative. And I was reflecting and I'm like, oh, that's because when I was little, I was always made out to be like I was this, like the word that comes to my mind, I guess, is defective child. I remember my dad would always look at me and he'd be like, oh, I know who you really are. And would just say it in this tone that was really, really negative. And so I developed like, oh gosh, I can't let people see who I really am because if I let people see who I really am, then something bad's going to happen. And that something bad is I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to belong. I'm not going to be approved of. And I have actually done EMDR, and I'm not going to go into the whole ins and outs of that. Um, but essentially, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. The lady who came up with it, brilliant woman, but my gosh, the name, ugh. Um, and I had been doing some EMDR and just some somatic work, spiritual work on some of my own blocks because I was reaching this upper limit in my own business. And I'm like, what is going on? Um, it was so frustrating. And so I utilize the tools that I have in my own toolkit because, again, just like you, I'm human. I'm not immune to those subconscious blockers. Sure, I am so much more aware of them and I can mostly see them playing out. Or when somebody calls them out, I can kind of reflect and go, oh, yeah, okay, I see that. But at the same time, it doesn't mean the somatic response still doesn't get stuck in my body sometimes from stuff that's lingered from the past. And I've been doing a lot of work around that. And I feel like something has shifted. And that's what I love about EMDR. It's why I use it with my clients because it works fast. It's crazy how fast it works. Um, and I always thought it wouldn't work for me. And I even had a psychologist tell me not to put too much hope into it. And then I did it. Like it's changed my life multiple times. I've done it multiple times and changes my life. It's incredible, incredibly effective, incredibly powerful. Had been developed for PTSD and trauma. And obviously, I'm a psychologist. So initially, that's what I was using EMDR for, like when I was working with clients in a psychology sense. But then I was like, well, we all have, ugh, air quotes, trauma, and we have trauma around money. And when I use the word trauma, God, I hate the word trauma sometimes because sometimes we can think it means something huge and big and devastating. And when I say that word with people, they're like, oh, well, I haven't had trauma. I'm like, uh-huh. No, we all have had trauma. Every single one of us. It just looks different for all of us. So the way I've kind of conceptualized trauma is just something that kind of got stuck in our body. There was something that happened and our body wasn't able to process it at the time. And so now, even though we're 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter how old we are, if we haven't processed that from a body-based perspective, then it will just keep coming up again and again and again, which is why when we hear the word triggered, what triggered means is trigger. That trigger is activating that old trauma, and we're responding from that way. Now, maybe you don't have a lot of trauma, and great, that's awesome. Maybe it is just trauma that, I don't know, is seemingly innocuous. I can't say the word today. I can't say it. Now I'm like, I can't say it. It's minor. It's minor trauma. I hate when I do that. I feel like I do that every episode that I stuff up a word. No, it's gonna bug me. I can't say it. You know, when your brain is just like it scrambles it. My brain is just scrambled with that particular word, not going there. We have this trauma, and it can be just these little things that accumulate, or it can be this one big thing, right? And it doesn't matter because it's how our body processes it. So an example that I would share with my psychology clients was, like if you drove home from work down your usual route and came across a car accident, you might look at the car accident and be like, oh my goodness, wow, I hope the people are okay. You might notice your heart racing. You might notice your hands clenching the steering wheel a bit more tightly. And you might get home and you might say to your friend or a partner, oh my goodness, I saw this accident on the way home and oh, it didn't look good. You might see on the news about the accident, if it was a bad accident, the next day you might wake up and have completely forgotten about it. And then you get in your car and you start driving and you're like, oh, that's right. The accident was on this road yesterday. Wow, how different the road looks in the daylight. And you go to work, you forget about it. But then on the drive home, you see the car accident space again, you get home, maybe you talk about it with your partner again. And then over time, it just fades into a memory. It becomes, nothing. But when we have something that sticks with us, what happens is we don't process that. So we might have this experience of driving past that same car accident, but maybe we were in a car accident and we hadn't really got over it, and driving was already really stressful for us. So we see this car accident and we just don't process it. It sticks with us, it becomes like sticky. And so we might find ourselves avoiding going down that route to get to work. We might change the channel whenever we see car accidents, even on a TV show. We might not want to drive unless it's daytime. We start to pick up these behaviors that make us feel a little bit protected so that we're not going to activate our anxiety about the trigger. Now, I'm sharing this with you because this is exactly what happens when it comes to money. Except obviously it's not a car accident that we're witnessing. We're witnessing our parents fighting about money. We're witnessing mum not being able to pay the bills. Or maybe she's picking up the phone to call for an extension plan and she's on the phone sobbing. Maybe you're at the supermarket and you're asking for a new pair of shoes and you're snapped at and told, we can't afford that, put it back. Whatever your experiences were in childhood, they may not seem traumatic because they don't bring up like a visceral, like, oh my God, that was so bad. But maybe they just bring up oh, yeah, that kind of felt a bit shit. Yeah, we didn't really have a lot as a kid. That is trauma. It doesn't have to be the 10 out of 10 trauma for it to qualify of having an impact on your life. And we can do something about it. You can absolutely rewire those experiences from your childhood because they've just gotten a little bit kinked in your system and we need to straighten them out a little bit. Not as though I like much straight, but anyway, that's the only straightening we'll have around here. So I guess I want to share that because when it comes to money, we can often think that we should have it all figured out, that we should just be able to do what we need to do, and that should be enough. And then we get really frustrated when doing isn't enough. And so I wanted to share why this happens with you because, gosh, I'm so big on this whole self-compassion train of thought, or not even train of thought, but experience for ourselves, because I think we can be so hard on ourselves and we don't have the deep understanding of why we do the things that we do. And look, our behavior I always say to people, like, just because we can understand behavior doesn't always mean that it's okay, or doesn't always mean that we have to tolerate it. But I also do think that having an understanding, particularly of our own behavior, is super important, because when we have that understanding and when we have that self-compassion, we can choose whether or not we want to do something differently. Because I wonder whether uh, beating yourself up and trying to force yourself to do things differently, I wonder whether that has actually worked for you or not. And chances are it probably hasn't. So I don't know. The key takeaways that I want you to take away from this is that everyone has trauma. You are not immune to it. And it's okay that you have trauma. I hate the word trauma. I really do. I think, I don't know, it just really rubs me the wrong way. Um, and you can also change it. And like, that's why I love EMDR. And it's why I've created the Wealthy as Fuck Vault. I don't know whether I've spoken about that with you before, but that is exactly why I've created the Wealthy as Fuck Vault, because I wanted to help people. I wanted to help women, actually, not people, women, to shift their relationship with money using EMDR based techniques, because EMDR has just been the most effective method in terms of being able to help people change. So, yeah, I've created the vault where you can actually go and listen to these EMDR meditations that will help you to actually rewire your brain, which is pretty fucking cool. And it's something that, gosh, I love. All of my favorite meditate. Anyway, I'm digressing, but I really love the vault because it's just got such beautiful meditations in there that really activate the wealth neural pathways in your brain. And what I want you to take away from this episode is, like, change is possible. Awareness, not enough. Change can't happen without awareness. There's this blend of kind of needing, and which I think is where that self-compassion piece comes in, because when we can invite self-compassion in, then we can be a little bit more motivated to change. So they're my little ramblings. You're going to hear more, hopefully. I'm hoping that I don't want to say chicken out, but yeah, I want to keep using my voice because I want to help more women make more fucking money. Not because it's about the money, but God, money just really helps us to get ahead in life. It gives us choice, it gives us freedom, it gives us the ability to live a wonderful life. And I don't know, like, why wouldn't we want that? So here is to being more authentic, and hopefully you learned a little bit about trauma in the process. Until next week, bye.